Shalom, Israel. This your King and Shepherd coming with another message of daily edification brought to you through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All praises due. Pray you had a fantastic day. Want to speak a little bit today on staying steady and not switching. All right. We too close to the end to be switch hitting. And after last month, right? I don't know. I just want to be sure nobody is entertaining the thought of switch hitting, because you never know how something like that could either intimidate or try to cause you to get a change of heart. All right. I want to be sure that we're still on that fuck these Pharisee vibration. Y'all know what I'm saying? Because it's a very dangerous time, man. We at the end. It'd be a shame for some of y'all to lose heart. And it can happen. Because see, the Pharisees, they try to intimidate you. That's what they do. That's what they've always done. All right? The Most High asks, who's going to stand for me in the evil day? Okay? Well, shit, I know I am. How about you? All right? No switching. I want to take us to Galatians chapter 2. Galatians chapter 2, starting at verse 1. The Apostle Paul says, "Then 14 years after I went up again to Jerusalem with Barnabas, and took Titus with me also, and I went up by revelation, and communicated unto them that gospel which I preach among the Gentiles, but privately to them which are of reputation, lest by any means I should run or had run in vain." So he preached to the Jews, all right, in private. He didn't preach to them like he preached to the Gentiles in front of everybody. "But neither Titus, who was with me, being a Greek, was compelled to be circumcised." All right. That was another thing that was on, circumcision. "And that because of false brethren, unawares brought in, who came in privately to spy out our liberty, which we have in Hamashiach Yahushai, that they might bring us into bondage." See there? See? So that's what they do. They come in privately. They spy out your liberty. And then they try to bring you back into bondage. That's what last month was about. Don't do this, don't do that, don't eat this, don't drink that, don't go here, don't go there. See? Nobody invited them in. Right? Nobody invited them in. But here they come. Read that again. "And that because of false brethren, unawares brought in, who came in privately to spy out our liberty, which we have in Hamashiach Yahushai, that they might bring us into bondage. To whom we gave place by subjection, no, not for an hour, that the truth of the gospel might continue with you." Let me get a translation comparison. He says, "But we refuse to give in to them for a single moment. We wanted to preserve the truth of the gospel message for you." See, this got to be preserved, man. Right? It's got to be preserved. You can't, he said he didn't give them nothing. They was in there talking that shit. Same thing they tried now. Same thing. All right? Because they're relentless. But of these who seemed to be somewhat, whatsoever they were, it maketh no matter to me. Power accepted no man's persons. For they who seemed to be somewhat in conference added nothing to me. Translation comparison. And the leaders of the church had nothing to add to what I was preaching. By the way, their reputation as great leaders made no difference to me, for the power has no favorites. So you can't be intimidated because these guys got quote-unquote big names. Like, they tried to call me a clout chaser, right? Clout chaser. Nah. Like somebody on they damn ding-a-ling. They out they fucking mind. See, they're very arrogant. See, they use all of these. I'm trying to show y'all that this is nothing new. Okay? Nothing new. Verse 7. But contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, as the gospel of the circumcision was unto Peter. So, the Apostle Paul was over the Gentiles, the uncircumcision. He's the one that taught them they can eat what they want, this and that. They ain't got to be circumcised and all that. It's all through faith, right? Well, the circumcision, Peter was over that. All right? Peter was over that. So they had two different factions. They had Paul over the Gentiles, and they had Peter over the Jews. Okay? For he, verse 8, for he that wrought effectually in Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles. And when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that was given unto me, they gave to me and Barnabas the right hands of fellowship, that we should go unto the heathen, and they unto the circumcision. Okay? So they gave Paul the right hand of fellowship, knowing what he was teaching. They say, you go to the Gentiles with that, we'll stay over here and deal with the Jews. Right? Verse 10. Only they would that we should remember the poor, the same which I also was forward to do. Which means he was going to do that anyway. Verse 11. But when Peter was come to Antioch, I withstood him to the face, because he was to be blamed. So, Paul had to check Peter. Check him for what? Well, verse 12. For before that certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision. See? And the other Jews dissembled likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also was carried away with their dissimulation. So, they all eating, right? They all eating. Peter down there eating with them. When all the other Jews came in, you know, because the Jews, they wanted to like have a tight, they had a certain presence about them to where they were above the Gentiles. See? So, Peter was over there eating with the Gentiles. All right? He was over there eating with the Gentiles. But when the other Jews came in, he got up and moved away from them. Because he didn't want to be seen eating with them. He was probably eating foods that the Jews didn't approve of. That's not in the law. That's not, you know what I mean? Like that. So, Paul had to check them for doing that. Because when they saw Peter do that, a lot of them followed Peter. This is why you got to be rock solid on your conviction. All right? That's why when they got on me with one hand, I made two. All right? Because you can't be moved away from this truth, man. And that's what Paul was trying to get across to Peter. Verse 13. And the other Jews dissembled likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also was carried away with their dissimulation. But when I saw that they walked not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel, I said to Peter before them all, if thou, being a Jew, livest after the manner of the Gentiles, and not as do the Jews, why compellest thou the Gentiles to live as do the Jews? Translation comparison. When I saw that they were not following the truth of the gospel message, I said to Peter in front of all the others, since you, a Jew by birth, have discarded the Jewish laws and are living like a Gentile, why are you now trying to make these Gentiles follow the Jewish traditions? See, Peter was caught being a hypocrite. Verse 15, we who are Jews by nature and not sinners of the Gentiles, knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Hamashiach Yahushai. Even we have believed in Hamashiach Yahushai that we might be justified by faith of Hamashiach and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. But if while we seek to be justified by Hamashiach, we ourselves are found sinners, is therefore Hamashiach the minister of sin? Power forbid. For if I build again the things which I destroyed, I make myself a transgressor. So, once you get delivered from this law of Moses into this law of liberty, and you go back to the law of Moses, you make yourself a transgressor. Plain and simple. Okay? Verse 19. For I, through the law, am dead to the law, that I might live unto the power. I am crucified with a Mashiach. Nevertheless, I live. Yet not I, but a Mashiach lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of the power, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not frustrate the grace of the power. For if righteousness come by the law, then Hamashiach is dead in vain. Means he died for nothing. So everybody trying to keep the law of Moses on your behalf, Yahushua went to the cross and did all that and died for nothing. That's why it's going to be such a heavy price to pay for these dummies, man. They don't know what they're doing. They crucify the Lord afresh when they do that. You make yourself a transgressor after he's already freed you. See? Dumb. Let's go to Acts chapter 10. This is Cornelius's vision. I want to show y'all something. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band, a devout man, one that feared the power with all his house, and which gave alms to the people, and prayed to God always. He saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of power coming into him, and saying unto him, Cornelius. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, What is it, Lord? And he said unto him, Thy prayers and thy alms are come up for a memorial before the power. And now send men to Joppa and call for one Simon, whose surname was Peter. Now, I want you to take notice. The Most High had already talked to Cornelius, told him where to go. Verse 6. He lodges with one Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the seaside. I want y'all to hear that. He shall tell thee what thou oughtest do. Now, why was Peter's house by the seaside? He's a fisherman. That's what he did by trade. So he had a house by the seaside, earning his living, right? And when the angel spake unto Cornelius was departed, he called two of his household servants and a devout soldier of them, Salah, a devout soldier of them that waited on him continually. And when he had declared all these things unto them, he sent them to Joppa. On the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. And he became very hungry and would have eaten. But while they made ready, he fell into a trance. So Peter thinking about food at this time. And saw heaven opened, and a certain vessel descending onto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the 4 corners and let down to the earth, wherein were all manner of 4-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. Now, at this point, it's written in red. Yahushua is talking to Peter through the Spirit, okay? Telling him, because he's hungry, rise, kill, and eat. And he gave Peter a choice. He gave him a choice of all of the things that he saw, all right, that were lowered down in the knitted 4 corners of the blanket, right? Or the vessel, Salak, the vessel. And he told him, rise, kill, and eat. But Peter said, not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. And the voice spake on them a second time and said, what power have cleansed, that call not thou common. Right? So he's still talking about food. This was done thrice. And the vessel, all right, was received up again into heaven. Now, while Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should be, he just told you what it meant. But Peter, being a devout Jew, wanted to find another meaning to it. Behold, the man which was sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house, and stood before the gate, and called and asked whether Simon, which was surnamed Peter, were lodged there. While Peter thought on the vision, the Spirit said unto him, behold, 3 men seek thee. Arise therefore, and get thee down, and go with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them. Now, these were Gentiles. You know, Jews and Gentiles didn't have nothing to do with each other back then. But the Most High cleansed them. And the reason the food was implemented is because Gentiles eat things that the Jews don't eat. And this is why when we was in Galatians chapter 2, all right, Peter ended up getting up anyway from the Gentiles, and Paul had to check him for not upholding the gospel. Okay? He says, arise therefore, and get thee down, and go with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them. Then Peter went down to the men which were sent unto him from Cornelius, and said, behold, I am he whom you seek. What is the cause therefore ye are come? And they said, Cornelius, the centurion, a just man, and one that feareth the power, and of good report among all the nation of the Jews, was warned by power by an holy angel to send for thee into this house, and to hear these words. Then called he them in, and lodged them. And on the morrow Peter went away with them, and certain brethren from Joppa accompanied him. Now, see, the Most High had already told Peter that they've been cleansed. All right? He told them that they've been cleansed, and the food has been cleansed. Twofold. Verse 24. And the morrow after they entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius waited for them, and had called together his kinsmen and near friends, and as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshipped him. But Peter took him up, saying, stand up, I myself also am a man. And as he talked with him, he went in and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, You know how that it is unlawful, an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But power has showed me that I should call no man common or unclean. Now, this is what Peter got out of the dream. He's saying that the power said call no man common or unclean. All right? But is that what the Most High said? No. All right? Power said was, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. The Most High said, what power have cleansed, that call not thou common. And in the dream, it was talking about food. It wasn't talking about men. Although the Most High was letting them know that not only had the food been cleansed, the men that were coming to see him had been cleansed, and it was okay for them to come into your house. It was okay for you to lodge with them, to be with them, and to chill with them. Okay? So that's a camp lie that they try to teach. Oh no, see, it wasn't talking about food. It was talking about the men. Well, that's what Peter took it as. But that's why Peter ended up getting checked by Paul. See? Because Peter already knew that the men had been cleansed, but the food they was eating, he still wasn't convinced. That's why he got up from the table, and that's why Paul had to check him. See? Acts chapter 10, verse 18. 17, Salat. Now while Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house and stood before the gate. All right. So once they got there, Peter had it in his mind, oh, okay, the Most High just want me to be with them, but not do the same thing that they do. That's not true, because y'all are all of the same faith. See? Now let's go on down to verse 24. And the morrow after they entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius waited for them and had called together his kinsmen and near friends. And as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshipped him. And Peter took him up, saying, stand up, I myself also am a man. And as he talked with him, he went in and found many that were come together, and said unto them, you know that how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation, but power has showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. Therefore came I unto you without gainsaying, as soon as I was sent for. I asked therefore for what intent you have sent for me. Cornelius said, 4 days ago I was fasting until this hour. And at the 9th hour I prayed in my house, and behold, a man stood before me in bright clothing, and said, Cornelius, thy prayer is heard, and thy alms are had in remembrance in the sight of the power. Send therefore to Joppa, and call hither Simon, whose surname is Peter. He is lodged in the house of one Simon, a tanner by the seaside, who, when he cometh, shall speak unto thee. Immediately therefore I sent to thee, and thou hast well done that thou art come. Now therefore are we all here present before the power, to hear all things that are commanded thee of the power. It's 34. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth I perceive that power is no respecter of persons, but in every nation he that fears him and work righteousness is accepted of him. The word that power sent unto the children of Israel, preaching peace by Hamashiach Yahushai, he is Lord of all. That word I say, ye know, which was published throughout all Judea and began from Galilee, after the baptism which John preached. How power anointed Yahushai of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and with power, who went about doing good and healing all that were oppressed of the devil, for power was with him. And we are witnesses of all things which he did both in the land of the Jews and in Jerusalem, whom they slew and hanged on a tree, and power raised up the 3rd day, and showed him openly, not to all people, but unto witnesses chosen before the power, even to us who did eat and drink with him after he arose from the dead. And he commanded us to preach unto the people, and to testify that it is he which was ordained a power to be the judge of the quick and the dead, to give all the prophets witness, that through his name whosoever believeth in him shall receive remission of sins. While Peter yet spake these words, the Holy Ghost fell on all them which heard the word. And they of the circumcision which believed were astonished, as many as came with Peter, because that on the Gentiles also was poured out the gift of the Holy Ghost. For they heard them speak with tongues and magnify the power. Then answered Peter, Can any man forbid water, that these should not be baptized, which have received the Holy Ghost as well as we? As he commanded them to be baptized in the name of the Lord, then prayed they him to tarry certain days. See there? So that's how that came together. Pharisees have always been notorious for trying to bust up some shit. All right? This is why it's so funny when you hear them calling on the name of the Lord now. They don't love the Lord. They don't love Yahweh Shai. They hated him. So, I don't know what your position is, but I'm hoping that this message will tighten you up if you slacken a little bit, to know that the message don't change, the gospel don't change. All right? No switching. Got to stay with this all the way. Trust me, it's going to pay off. Being with the Most High means that you're going to be in the minority group, not the majority. And you don't want to be in the majority. The majority is the ones that's going to get it. You want to be in the minority. That's why we're a small remnant. All right? All praise to the Apostle Paul got Peter straight back then. All right? All praises for that. Paul didn't bend. Paul didn't quit. Paul didn't knuckle under to the Pharisees. And neither will I, and neither will you, Lord willing. All right? So, I pray that this message finds you well, and that it gives you the fortitude to stay on the track. All right? No switching. I want to give all praise to Yahweh Bashem HaMashiach Yahweh Shai. See y'all on the next go-round. KD out. Shalom.